Christmas. But the funny thing is that when our parents thought we were doing something wild, we never were, and when they thought we were being innocent, we were usually up to something. They never gave me a hard time about the school play rehearsals, for instance, but I spent all my time there with Steve, undoing each other's buttons and buckles, then frantically doing them up again when Mr. Casser started bellowing, "Steve? Ellie? Are they at it again? Someone, get me a crowbar!" Very humorous guy, Mr. Casser. We ended up with a list of 8, counting us. We didn't ask Elliot, because he's so lazy, or Miriam, because she was doing work experience with Fee's parents. But 5 minutes after we made the list, one of the boys on it, Chris Lang, turned up at my place with his dad, so we immediately put the question to them. Mr. Lang's a big guy who always wears a tie, no matter where he is or what he's doing. He seems kind of heavy and serious to me. Chris says his father was born on the corner of Straight and Narrow, and that sums it up. When his dad's around, Chris stays pretty quiet, but we asked them as they sat at our kitchen table, pigging out on Mum's date scones, and we got knocked back in one sentence. It turned out that Mr. and Mrs. Lang were going overseas, and even though they had a worker, Chris had to stay home and keep an eye on the place. So that was a bad start to our plans. Next day, though, I took a bike and rode across the paddocks to Homer's. Normally I'd go by road, but Mum's been getting a bit twitchy about the new cop in Wirrawee, who's been booking people left, right and centre. His first week in town, he booked the magistrate's wife for not wearing a seatbelt. Everyone was being careful till they'd broken this guy in. I found Homer down at the creek, testing a valve that he just cleaned out. As I arrived, he was holding it high, watching it optimistically to see if it was leaking. "Look at that," he said as I got off the Yamaha. "Tight as a drum." "What was the problem?" "I don't know. All I know is that 3 minutes ago was losing water and now it isn't. That's good enough for me." I picked up the pipe and held it for him as he started screwing the valve back on. "I hate pumps," he said. "When Papa pops off, I'm going to put dams in every paddock." "Good. You can hire my earth-moving business to put them in." "Ah, is that your latest?" He squeezed the muscles on my right upper arm. "You'll be able to dig dams by hand the way you're going." I gave a sudden shove to try and push him into the creek, but he was too strong. I watched him pump the pipe up and down to force water into it, then helped him carry buckets up to the pump to finish the priming. On the way I told him our plans. "Oh yeah? I'll have a go at that," he said. "I'd rather we went to a tropical resort and drank cocktails with umbrellas in them, but this'll do in the meantime." We went back to his place for lunch, and he asked his parents for permission to come on the camp. "Ellie and I are going bush for a few days," he announced. That was Homer's way of asking permission. His mother didn't react at all. His father raised an eyebrow from above his cup of coffee, but his brother started firing the questions. When I gave the dates, his brother George said, "What about the show?" "We can't go any earlier," I said. "The Mackenzies are shearing." "Yeah, but who's going to groom the bulls for the show?" "You're a class act with a hairdryer," Homer said. "I seen you in front of the mirror Saturday nights. Just don't go woggy with the bulls and put oil through their coats." He said to me, "Papa's got a 44-gallon drum of oil in the shed, especially for George on Saturday nights." As George was not known for a sense of humor, I kept my eyes down and had another mouthful of tabbouleh. So Homer was organized, and Corrie rang that night to say Kevin was coming too. "He wasn't all that keen," she said. "I think he'd rather go to the show, but he's doing it for me." "Oh, yuck, vomit, spew," I said. "Tell him to go to the show if that's what he wants. There's plenty of guys who'd kill to come with us." "Yeah, but they're all under 12, Corrie sighed. "Kevin's little brothers are desperate to come, but they're too young, even for you." "And too old for you," I replied rudely. I rang Fiona after the call from Corrie and told her our plans. "Do you want to come?" I asked. "Oh," she sounded amazed, as if I'd told her all about the trip just to entertain her. "Oh, gosh, do you want me to?" I didn't even bother to answer that one. "Oh, gosh." Fee was the only person I knew under 60 who said gosh. "Who else is coming?" "Corrie and me, Homer and Kevin, and we thought we'd ask Robin and Lee." "Well, I'd like to. Wait a second, I'll go and ask." It was a long wait. At last she came back with a series of questions. She relayed my answers to her mother or father, or both, in the background. After about 10 minutes of this, it was another long conversation. Then Fee picked up the phone again. "It's been difficult," she sighed. "I'm sure it'll be okay, but my mum wants to ring your mum to make sure. Sorry." "That's cool. I'll put you down with a question mark and I'll talk to you at the weekend, okay?" I hung up. It was getting hard to use the phone because the TV was yelling at me. Mum had turned it up too loud so she could hear the news in the kitchen. An angry face filled the screen. I stopped and watched for a moment. "We've got a wimp for a foreign minister," the face was shouting. "He's weak, he's gutless, he's the new Neville Chamberlain. He doesn't understand the people he's dealing with. They respect strength, not weakness." "Do you think defense is high on the government's agenda?" the interviewer asked. "High? High? You must be joking. Do you know what they've cut from the defense budget?" Thank goodness I'm getting away from this for a week, I thought. I went into Dad's office and rang Lee. It took a while to explain to his mother that I wanted her son. Her English wasn't too crash hot. Lee was funny when he came to the phone, almost suspicious. He seemed to react slowly to everything I said, as though he was weighing it up. "I'm meant to be playing at the Commemoration Day concert," he said when I told him the dates. There was a silence, which I finally broke. "Well, do you want to come?" He laughed then. "It sounds more fun than the concert." Corey had been puzzled when I said I wanted to ask Lee. We didn't really hang around with him at school. He seemed a serious guy, very into his music. But I just thought he was interesting. I suddenly realized that we didn't have that much time left at school, and I didn't want to leave without getting to know people like Lee. There were people in our year who still didn't know the names of everyone else in the form, and we were such a small school. I had this intense curiosity about some kids, and the more different they were to the people I normally hung around with, the more curious I was. "Well, what do you think?" I asked. There was another long pause. Silence makes me uncomfortable, so I kept talking. "Do you want to ask your mum and dad?" No, I'll handle them." "Yeah, I'll come." "You don't sound all that keen." "Hey, I'm keen. I was just thinking about the problems, but it's cool. I'll be there. What'll I bring?" My last call was to Robin. "Oh, Ellie," she wailed. "It'd be great, but I'd never be allowed." "Come on, Robin, you're tough. Put the pressure on them." She sighed. "Oh, Ellie, you don't know what my parents are like." "We'll ask them anyway. I'll wait on." "Okay." After a few minutes I heard the bumping noises of the phone being picked up again, so I asked, "Well, did you con them into it?" Unfortunately, it was Mr. Mathers who answered. "No, Ellie, she hasn't conned us into it." "Oh, Mr. Mathers!" I was embarrassed, but laughing too, because I knew I could twist Mr. Mathers around my pinky. "Now, what's all this about, Ellie?" "Well, we thought it was time we showed independence and initiative and all those other good things. We want to do a bushwalk along Taylor's Stitch for a few days. Get away from the sex and vice of Wirrawee into the clean, wholesome air of the mountains." "And no adults?" "Oh, Mr. Mathers, you're invited, as long as you're under 30, okay?" "That's discrimination, Ellie." We kidded around for 5 minutes till he started getting serious. "You see, Ellie, we just think you kids are a bit young to be careering around the bush on your own." "Mr. Mathers, what were you doing when you were our age?" He laughed. "All right, one to you. I was jackarooing at Kalamata Downs. That was before I got smart and put on a collar and tie." Mr. Mathers was an insurance agent. "So what we're doing is small time compared to jackarooing at Kalamata Downs." "After all, what's the worst thing that could happen? Hunters in four-wheel drives? They'd have to come through our place and Dad'd stop them. Bushfires? There's so much rock up there, we'd be safer than we would be at home. Snakebite? We all know how to treat snakebite. We can't get lost, 'cause Taylor's Stitch is like a highway. I've been going up into that country since I could walk." "How about we take out insurance with you, Mr. Mathers? Would you say yes then? Is it a deal?" Robin rang back the next night to say it was a deal, even without the insurance. She was pleased and excited.